back. So today we are joined with the lovely Laura Beddoe-Collins. Laura is a mum to two, a motivational speaker, a coach and a mentor that helps women strive to become the highest version of themselves. So welcome, Laura.
Hi.
Did I introduce you right there?
Yeah.
Did I get it right?
Yes, you got it right. You got it right.
So yeah, how are you?
I'm good. I'm really, really good. I mean, I've had so last year was a really weird, polarised year for me. So I got married to the love of my life. And obviously you know the backstory there as well.
So lovely.
So I've been out with some wrong uns. And yeah, so I got married to the love of my life and my business came into some major success. And then there was just other things going on in the background that made it really hard. So I feel like, as you know, I'm really into astrology, manifestation, and I feel like after the last eclipse, which obviously I'll talk about more about what I did and what I do. After the last eclipse, I feel like a major shift. So that was probably about 3 weeks ago. I don't know when this is going to be aired. But yeah, I just feel like I've just come into my own.
Yeah.
In the last 3 weeks. So yeah.
That's a good place to be then.
Yeah.
And how are you feeling about coming on here today? I know you're very used to speaking in public anyway, so I'm gathering nerves aren't there?
No, I don't. I'm not nervous. I don't ever get nervous when I'm being interviewed because I teach people a method to stick to in my business. So I help people to build brands. But also I just think that, so I'm quite connected spiritually and I channel. So I just always believe that whatever's supposed to come out will come out in the chat. But then also I'm more critical afterwards when I watch it back.
Yeah.
So I tend not to.
Yeah, I think that's so natural though anyway, isn't it? I mean, even me when I have guests on, I think, I should have asked that or not spoken about that so much, or maybe gone deeper into that, isn't it? So yeah, I know what you're like. I know how you feel about that because I'm exactly the same. And as I said to you before we started recording, I think not having Drew here, I'm very like that as well. Like I'm still getting used to it, as she was like my safety blanket, and I felt like we bounced off of each other. And now I know it's just me. I'm like, oh no, what if I can't think of a question?
Yeah,
you know?
I do think I've been listening to the podcast for a while, and when I listened to the most recent one where she said she was leaving, I was like,
oh no,
I was quite sad for you because. Yeah, like you two's relationship is so special.
Yeah.
Oh, you look really sad.
No,
now.
I'm fine. It's, you know what, our relationship is still there. It's just literally not here, and it's just sad that I haven't got that. But
I think all the mums are like happy to hear that.
Yeah,
there's no drama.
No, there's no drama. There's no beef. Honestly, I feel like people are waiting for like a magazine exclusive, like they've split. No, everything's all good. No, yeah, literally.
Damn it.
Literally, you're hoping to get the goss. No, yeah, literally, what I've said is what's happened. She literally just wants to focus on being a mum. She's just gone back to work. She wants to throw herself into that. And I think this has always been more my passion. I've always been more extroverted than her about talking about my life, and she's definitely more private. But no, there's no dramas. We're all still friends.
Damn. I bet there's loads of listeners right now.
No. Even before you've come up today, she's voiced noted me asking me to ask certain questions to you, so it's all good because we'd obviously planned.
God, what she said.
Well, we'd already planned this episode that you were going to be coming on at some point. While we done our last series, and we were like, right, we'll put her in series 4 because we were literally manic. Then we shortened the series, and then obviously I've got you on earlier than anticipated anyway. But because she knew you were going to be coming on, I feel like it was already a conversation that we had about how good it would be to bring you on, what we wanted to talk about, blah, blah, blah. And then, yeah, obviously now I'm doing it by myself, but she's giving me some pointers, so it's all good.
Okay.
But yeah.
I'm scared.
No, it's all good, to be honest.
She's more brutal than you.
No, yeah, she is. She is. So let's just give us a background on you. So obviously, as I said, you're a mum of 2, you're married, and so tell us about you, first of all, and then how you built your brand.
So I think it's so beautiful that you've known me for a long time. So me and Kaylee worked together how many years ago?
Oh, I think Ez was just born, so maybe like 14 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, a long time ago. And
Yeah.
that's when I was with the narcissistic ex, whose name I shall not mention.
Yeah.
And I was a mess. I was a mess. I was in addiction. I was really lost. I was a lost soul. So it's really nice, like what I was saying to you before we started recording. That's actually when, shortly after, I think when we was working for that insurance company, that's when I had my first spiritual awakening. So I've always been in sales and marketing, like my whole life. I've just fallen into it naturally. I've got the gift of the gab and really confident, extroverted, all of the skills that you need to be great in sales. But the way that I was taught sales was very masculine, very manipulative, and yeah, I didn't know myself back then. I was really a chameleon to what people wanted me to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably why I'm so confident in speaking in any scenario, because I'm really good with who I am today.
Yeah.
I'm really comfortable in my own skin, and I don't mould myself to be what other people want me to be. So, how was my brand created? Oh, it's been an evolution, Kaylee, I tell you.
I bet. Just going back to when I used, you were saying that you were in a bad place when I first met you. I remember looking at you in awe, being like, oh my God, that woman is beautiful. She always looks like she's got her shit together. And I knew you had a little boy, and I used to think, oh, I want to be like, because she was only a baby, I want to be like that when she's a little bit older, because I felt like I didn't look the part, I didn't act the part, I felt really like small, if that makes sense. And yeah, when I looked at you, I was like, wow. So you just don't know what's going on. But I do now,
really
obviously.
don't.
But I did not know what was going on behind closed doors.
But that's because I was really good at masking.
As you just say, yeah.
I was really, really good at masking. And especially with the narcissistic partner, I didn't want people to know what was going on behind the scenes. And I think I was running back then. I was also running my entertainment business, wasn't I?
Yeah.
Platinum Angels
Yeah.
at the time, and so I was a performer. So I was amazing at masking because I was doing the fire performing. I was traveling up and down the country, doing all of that. So yeah, I was traveling up and down the country whilst I was in the insurance job, and I think that was. Yeah, that's when the addiction was really bad, because I literally was like, I know it sounds really cringe, but I was like that it girl. I used to go out anywhere I wanted to go. They used to let me in the club, like straight in. Now I see girl, like when I'm queuing up for clubs now, I'm like, oh, that used to be me.
Really? I've got a queue. Do you not know who I am?
Honestly, I was like one of them girls that literally I would go in every single club we had a contract within, so we were just lording it up.
Yeah.
But I was also caning it.
Yeah.
All whilst having a young boy, and obviously I've had to do a lot of work around undoing the shame. So I think I really came into building my brand. So I had a nervous breakdown at 27. And that was the first spiritual awakening that I had, and that's when I found the book The Secret. And I think that's where, when I speak to a lot of women, I think that's where they have like this kind of entrance into a consciousness that actually there is something greater than you. And I think most women start off with thinking that they want to manifest a handbag or a boyfriend, right?
Yeah.
And that was definitely me. So I was like, oh my God, I'm going to just think positive and everything's going to be great. And that was like that was the first part of my journey. And yeah, obviously I did manifest a few things, but they never stuck, because actually what I needed to do was unravel all of the beliefs that I was unworthy, that I didn't deserve a partner, that my self-esteem was completely on the floor. And I had to unravel that, and that took me a long time. So I had, when I was a kid, I had a really toxic environment, I would say, is probably the nicest way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really conscious of my parents because I love both of my parents, and it wasn't their fault necessarily, which is why I love talking on podcast or talking to mums, because I think there is a real rise in gentle parenting. I'm sure that you've had guests on talking about gentle parenting, and there's a real rise of women and men that want to break generational past trends.
100%. I'm the same with you with my parents. Like, I love them both to bits, but my environment that I brought up in, I've made sure that my children don't have that, because I don't want them to have to recover as an adult like I have. And as you say, I don't hold any resentment there to them, because when you're an adult and you're a parent especially, you can look back and think how hard it is sometimes to not react in certain ways, or change the thought process, or change the way you deal with things, because you're really conscious that you don't want to go down that road. But I think I've got so much more respect for my mum now, because she went through a lot, as did my dad, and I had so much anger inside me for so many years over it. And it's only really when I've got to an adult, and I think we're all just human. Like, you need to cut these people some slack. They're just trying to deal with it the best way they knew how, and they probably hadn't gone through stuff that, say, their parents had, and vice versa and vice versa. And I think, as you say, you're the one that needs to actually stop that continuing for generations. It stops with you, because then our children will grow up to need, hopefully, less therapy and, become better versions of themselves. But they can only do that with what they're seeing. They're a product of their environment, aren't they?
100%. And but it's hard being the one that has to break the chains.
Yeah.
It's so, like, anybody that is going through this process, who's listening, like, just keep going, because it is so worth it.
Yeah.
It is so worth it. So, obviously, my son had a very different parent, but I was a brilliant mum. Like, he's turned out, thankfully, amazingly. But I had addiction problems. And I had to learn to love myself. The relationship and the parenting style that I have with my daughter, and I don't know whether you're the same, is very different with my daughter. So she'll be 4 next month. And I'm just a completely different mum to what I was to my older son, Riley. And I can see the difference. And that's why I wanted to work on myself, and it's part of the brand process, which I help businesses and brands, but I help people to come into the best version of themselves.
Yeah.
And then I help them with strategy. So it's definitely a process. And essentially with gentle parenting, if you're looking at gentle parenting, I think a lot of people, I'm not a gentle parenting coach, by the way.
No.
But I actually support quite a few clients that are.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot about it, and I'm really interested in it. But a lot of people think gentle parenting, oh, well, they're going to be a bit like no boundaries, letting their kids run riot. But actually, it's completely different. And I think when you go through a healing process and you come into a conscious way of living and manifestation, what you're actually doing is learning to parent yourself.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have... So my inner critic was horrible to me. So whatever I did, even though you said, on the outside looking in, I looked like I had it all together, that's because I had to look perfect all the time.
Yeah.
Because otherwise everyone would know that I'm broken inside.
Yeah.
So...
It's your way of trying to take control. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like living with that inner critic that's really loud, that's like, oh, well, what's the point of doing this, blah, 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 that monkey mind. what I help people to do essentially is learn how to manifest, but actually keep what they are looking to manifest by unlocking all of their old subconscious patterns from their childhood to actually be in full alignment with what they want to achieve.
Yeah, that's incredible, because there's so many adults that I know, and I'm sure all of you listening, that have had past trauma, whether they even know subconsciously that is why they are the way they are as an adult. I don't know if they even, some people don't put two and two together. I only do, because I know I went to therapy and I've done the work, and that's becoming a lot less taboo now, people speaking up and addressing the situation, whereas before I think people used to just put it to the back of their head. And there's so many people with mental health out there who are scared to speak up and actually say how they're feeling, and making it stop with them, as you're just saying, actually getting to the deep root cause. And it's not just about manifesting, it's about completely changing their life, isn't it? It's like, it's a lifestyle change. It isn't just like an overnight thing.
It's a complete, but it can be fast. So as I said, I'm when I say all of the things that I'm qualified in, it's like, oh God. So I'm qualified as a hypnotherapist, but I'm also qualified as a business consultant, a business coach, and I also am a Reiki master. So I combine those three things to create my own methodology in what I do. But I think that sounds quite complicated. So to break that down, is what I do is I help people to really find the most confident version of who they truly are, and actually what they really desire. So a lot of people come to me and they go, oh, I want to earn 20k months. And then I'm like, okay, so why? And they don't know. They've just heard somebody else say it.
Yeah.
So that isn't aligned for you necessarily. It might be more money, who knows? But a lot of people, they don't really know what they want to start with. So what I thought I wanted when I started out on this journey all those years ago is completely different. I thought I wanted the handbags, the cars, the money. And I do love those things. I'm not telling you I don't, because I do. But do I need them? No, not necessarily. I like them, and like nice holidays, things like that. But to me, what is the biggest luxury is peace of mind.
Yeah.
Going to bed at night and my head hits that pillow. I don't have a thought in my head.
Oh, amazing. I'm like, how do I get that?
And I'm watching a sunset and I'm just enjoying the moment, being present. That is like the biggest gift. Like 10 years ago, literally, I couldn't sit still.
Yeah.
Because my head was just like going and going and going and going. And I work with businesses, and I work with people in a VIP one-to-one capacity. And I'm working with a woman at the moment, and at the beginning is my favourite part, because it's really getting into the nuts and bolts as why they're acting the way that they are.
Is it a bit like therapy, the initial conversation?
Yeah.
And does it continue to grow like that as well? I know that you're mentoring them and coaching them, but is it like a therapy session?
It is like therapy at the beginning, yeah. Unless it's in a group setting. So if it's in a group setting, I do go to certain places, but I know when it's, I don't want to push somebody too far and it's inappropriate. So one of my biggest gifts, I'd say, is that I can cut through people's BS. So I can see when they're telling me something, I know, like I can see into them, and I know that there's so much they're not telling me. And I actually am so empathic. I can feel people's sadness.
Oh, sadness, yeah.
Or I can feel people's anger. Or I can feel, even on a screen, I know that sounds really weird, but I can.
Yeah.
I can connect in with people. And it's such a gift, because somebody will be saying something to me about what they want or what's going on, and I can sense that they're not telling me at all. So I dig into it, and I can really get into that, like, the nitty-gritty of it.
Yeah.
And when you can get into the nitty-gritty of what's really going on underneath, so many of us just go, oh, I'm fine. We're not fine.
No. No, it's just, do you know what? That's the answer that everyone says, isn't it? Just as like a quick answer. How are you? Even the people asking it sometimes don't even give a shit anyway. They're literally just doing it to make a conversation. How are you? I'm fine. That's it.
Yeah, but it's quite funny because I'm quite open. So,
Well,
well, let me tell you. Then they're like, oh,
which are not. I'm the same, to be fair. I'm literally the same. I don't shut up. So
yeah. So, yeah. But I think it's good. I think another thing that I'm good at is opening up uncomfortable conversations.
yeah,
And making them more comfortable. And that's something I really strive to do in everything that I do. I think I'm a bit of a disruptor.
yeah. But we need those though, don't we, to change the way? 100%. So what would you say do you find the most challenging part of your career?
The most challenging.
Like, a question that Drew asked me to ask you is, say, like, I doubt somebody would come to you unless they've got some sort of desire to understand more about manifestation. Like, I'm very much a believer, so is Drew. We've done a whole topic on it. But for somebody that doesn't believe in that, is it hard to, like, turn their way around? Do you have it in your head, like, I'm going to switch how you're feeling?
No.
Or do you just think, if you don't see it in that way, I'm
No.
not going to force it?
No.
Yeah.
I just don't care.
Yeah.
I don't... Like, I've got my tribe. I've got women that understand it. I've got an amazing community and support systems, and I just think I will just be myself. I'm over here doing this, and if you're interested, come and have a chat. If you're not, great.
Yeah.
I don't, and what I do think goes on a lot within, especially in the spiritual communities, is sometimes there's a bit of like spiritual ego.
Right.
So I'm not one to think I'm better than anybody else because I have a conscious way of living. I don't feel like there's levels. I really don't. I feel like, for me, I actually feel like I'm actually like a bridge for people that are kind of curious and finding out. And I mean, I can go all the way woo, like really weird and wonderful stuff. Or I can go really at the beginner level where people are just interested in law of attraction and how to manifest.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's a good question, but I just have 0 Fs.
Yeah.
About people that aren't interested.
Do you know what? There's so many people that sit there and they really care about what other people are doing, even down to like us doing this when we first started off. And, you know, there's obviously this thing in your head, doubt in your head, like, oh, well, people going to talk negatively, blah, blah, blah. But do you know what? I just thought, I genuinely don't care what anybody else is doing. If they're happy, I don't sit there and think, oh, I'm going to go and bitch about you, because I just think, what's that? What purpose is that bringing to my life? Like, if you're happy doing whatever, whether it be a career, whether it be your partner, I might not necessarily agree with it, but if it's not affecting my life, so you crack on and do what you want to do. Like, that's how I see it, but I know certain people don't. That's why I thought I'd bring that up, because not everybody listening probably does, know about manifesting or the law of attraction or anything like that. But I think there are people out there curious, as you said, me being one of them, and would love to learn more, which is obviously why we've got you on. And yeah, I think that's a really, really good place to be, is just like not caring, because you don't want to be offended. Like, I can't imagine you being offended, to be honest with it.
I'm it's really, really hard to offend me, because I've pretty much done it all, and I talk about everything openly.
Yeah.
And I think, well, I've been to the darkest night of the soul. Like, there's not really much you can say to me.
Yeah.
That's going to offend me.
Yeah.
I just think, that's your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And usually, I mean, I am actually quite blessed. I've been trolled only a handful of times that I can remember. I'm sure people say things about me behind my back, but that's not
again,
my
as
business.
I just said, like, yeah, like, honestly, it says more about that person, because I just think you must be really unhappy in your life to talk negatively about somebody that's doing something that does not affect you in any way.
That is actually putting some good stuff back in the world.
Yeah, literally.
Like, even if I died tomorrow and I got to those pearly gates and everything that I thought was real wasn't, I would think, do you know what? It changed my entire life.
100%.
So...
And you're in a positive place every day. I know that you still probably go through things, but the way that you deal with them would be completely different had you not have gone down this journey. Can I just ask as well, personal question, but your partner, when you first met, was he as aligned to this? I gather he's...
So he is... so this is a really good question. I'm really glad that you asked me. So, yeah. So as I was saying earlier as well, just to touch on this. So the brand has evolved. So I started off with self-love. So I used to help women with their self-worth.
Yeah.
And then it evolved into business consulting because of my sales and marketing background. So when I met my husband, it was after a really horrible breakup where I lost everything. I was homeless when I met Nick. Yeah, I was literally had nothing. We both met outside of a cafe, and I just thought he was gorgeous. And then a couple of months later, I matched with him on Tinder, but I'd actually matched with him before on Tinder.
Ah.
Yeah. So anyway.
Had you spoken the first time or no? Just matched?
So we matched. So obviously I haven't been on any of those apps for a long time. So I've been with my husband for 7 years now, married for 1. And there was a thing then which was a super like.
Oh, yeah.
So he super liked me, and then we got chatting, but it was so aligned. So there's a really cute story actually behind this. So this is why I can tell you so many stories about manifestation and like things that have happened in my life. I've manifested so many amazing things, including my husband. So I'm going to take you back. So before I met him, I was in a relationship with somebody who was physically and mentally abusive. And I went to go and get some Reiki. So this is why I got interested in Reiki. So I went for a Reiki healing session. And in that Reiki healing session, like my whole body was shaking and moving. It was so weird. I do it a lot now when healing. So like actual energy moves through my body. It's so, if you ever seen those videos where they're putting the hands over and you can see the body moving, you think that's not real.
Yeah.
That's actually what was happening to me in this Reiki session when I was with this abusive partner. And afterwards she did a card reading on me, and she said, at the moment you're with somebody and he's like a child. He needs to do a lot of he's got a lot of wounds. And she's like, and then she pulled out all these cards, and she was like, this man is literally waiting for you, is ready for you. He's going to be amazing. Like, it's really soon. You just need to close the door on this relationship. But I was so like in and out of that relationship because I did really love him. And as you know, being a mum with a child, it's not as easy as, it's over.
Yeah.
There's a lot more complications. You have to include your child and think of your child, but obviously you have to put yourself first.
Yeah.
And she said to me, go home and write a letter. And she said, put details in it. She was like, all the details. And I'll tell you what, if you ever do, so it's actually, obviously this will be aired on a different day, but the next full moon, everybody listening to this, and if you need support on how to do it, check out the website, which I'm sure Kaylee will put in the show notes.
Yeah.
But write a letter, what you want to manifest with detail. I mean, serious detail. And in this letter, obviously I can't remember all the details, and then burn it underneath the moon, right? So that sends out so every time we write something, every time we speak something, that's a frequency that we're sending out to the universe.
Yeah.
And then it responds back to you. So that's when people talk about the law of attraction. It's actually the law of vibration that is stronger.
Okay.
So when you're sending out, whether it's writing, speaking, thinking, you're sending out this frequency and then it returns back to you. So because I'd had this massive deep healing and I wrote this letter, be careful what you write.
Oh, really?
Be careful what you write, because some of the things that I wrote in there was about my husband, and I won't share all of them, but I asked for somebody that's really clean and tidy. So my husband is like really clean, like to the point it drives me a bit nuts.
Yeah.
And there's some other things that I'm not going to share, but and also I wrote in there at this point, I mean, when I met my husband, I was homeless.
Yeah.
I was living in a homeless shelter. And in that letter, I wrote that I wanted a 4-bedroom house with modern interior. Like, I wrote my house that he lives in, basically.
Really?
And obviously we were dating for a while, and I didn't know he had money or anything like that. I just met this guy on Tinder, you know. And the first time we pulled up to the house, I was like, oh my God, it's him! It's the man!
Oh my God.
And so another funny thing that I share openly as well is that I thought it was too good to be true, because he's amazing. He literally worships the ground I walk on. And I thought, obviously, going to the house, and it's this massive house, I was like, he's got to be married and she's away on she's got to be away on some, I don't know, air hostess or something. So I'm in the house like looking around for clues for a woman. And then I said to, and don't worry, I'm leading to the place where you want to answer the question. So I said to him, and this is like proper universe soulmate moment, I said to him, I was looking around to see if there's any clues for other women here. I was like, why have you got this big house all to yourself? He went, because I've been reading all about the law of attraction. And it says in there that you have to make spaces for the family that you want to attract girls.
Oh my God. Wow. I bet you were like, wow, I've met my match.
I was like, fuck.
I've just got goosebumps.
I actually went into the bathroom. So I live in that house now.
Yeah.
And, he had to be careful what he wished for. He got me, my son, the dog.
And now...
Eventually.
Yeah, and now you're a little baby girl.
Yeah.
How lovely. So, yeah, is he as aligned as you are? Well,
So,
from that, it sounds like
he is interested, but, I mean, some of the rituals that I do, and I do past life regression as well, and I teach women about the menstrual cycle, which is probably some of the stuff that you've seen me post if you have. So that's time blocking around the menstrual cycle, and I teach women how to read their blood. So it's like right out there.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff I talk about, he's like, all right.
Goes over his head.
Yeah, but he's really proud of me. He's like my big, like I saw you post something today actually.
Yeah.
He's my biggest cheerleader.
Yeah. No, that is what you need, isn't it? And as I was saying, like, for years, I didn't think that was possible for me. And I genuinely feel like I've found somebody who, like you say, literally worships the ground I walk on. I'm sure it's not always going to be this easy. We are very early on. But, yeah, like, I've actually feel content for the first time. And it's such a nice place to be, which I'm sure that was probably your first time, assuming, because you've been together now 7 years.
Again, I think you've touched on this. It's like that stigma of, she's had so many boyfriends, blah, blah, blah. And I used to feel like a failure. When a relationship ended, because I used to go out of such wrong uns, I used to think I'm a failure.
But as I said in like my last podcast, I feel like when you're in a downward space anyway, you just attract those sort of people. So, and it's almost as if like I had such low self-worth that I felt like I wasn't able or wasn't really entitled to meet somebody that was better. Do you know what I mean? So I would still keep choosing the same type of person and expect different results. And it's taken me until I split up with Jude's dad to really do that work on myself and know that I deserve a nice partner. I deserve to be spoken to nice. I deserve to know where my partner is and that they're going to come home when they say they're going to come home. Like, I deserve, that's just a norm. They are normal things that you should be having in a relationship. But to me, I feel like now I've hit the fucking jackpot, and it's mad to think that people have just had that all the time, and I didn't know that was out there. Do you know what I mean?
And did you find it, obviously is it quite new?
Yeah, it's like 7 months now. Yeah.
So do you sometimes find it weird?
Yeah,
because
I even said this in the conversation with Lucia, like, where I've been so used to having toxic relationships, I was thinking, I hope I don't find this boring, because it's just stable. There's no, like, obviously every relationship you're going to have disagreements, but the extremes that I would have in my prior relationship it's just awful. And considering I had children as well to factor into all of that, it's mad. And do you know what, like, I can hand on my heart say, in my last relationship, I know that I was a really, really good partner, and I, you know, that in my past ones, I don't think necessarily I haven't let my guard down. I haven't been my true authentic self, but I really tried to be in my last one, and it didn't get me anywhere. And I think, but that's because of the person that I was choosing. And I never want to speak badly of him as a dad or as a person, because he's an amazing dad and he's a great friend and a great son, a great brother. But as a partner, to me, we just did not see eye to eye on a lot of things, and I feel like I bit my tongue a lot because I didn't want to have another failed relationship. And it was only that I got to the point where I thought, I don't want my children growing up in this like how I did. I need to stop it now. And the fact that Jude was younger, I thought, I'm glad that I've done it then, because he hasn't had to deal with me having a breakup when he's older and like knows what's going on. I was 11 when my parents split, and I think that's got a big factor into a lot of my anxiety, you know, low mood, all of that stems back to that. I'm still like this inner child.
Little inner child that's hiding, like, oh, is it safe?
Yeah.
But what you're touching on, what you just said about actually finding, oh, will I find this boring? Like, the work continues. I have to continue. I'm 7 years into a relationship. This is the longest relationship I've ever had. So this is like an active thing. Like, it's like actively working on having a healthy relationship is like ongoing. And yeah, it's beautiful that we have that, but it does take work because actually what you're doing, and this is the work that I do with my clients, is that actually subconsciously, when you were saying that you would go for the same person, subconsciously that felt like a safe for you
option, because I know that.
Yeah, because you know that. And basically what happens when you work with a hypnotherapist is that you change the patterns in your brain so that you can start making healthier choices. And it's not like you have to sit in therapy for years and years and years talking about the same old thing. That's not really something I enjoy. The reason that I trained in hypnotherapy is because it is fast. So like, I can, in a 90-minute session, if it's deep rooted from childhood, lots of different episodes of different things, obviously it takes a longer period of time, but yeah, it's much shorter than if it wasn't.
Yeah. Can you tell the listeners about your event that you've got coming up? Because you was telling me before we started, and it sounds amazing.
So I just want to talk about the clinic that I'm opening in David Lloyd as well, if that's okay.
Yeah, no, of course.
So I'm opening up a clinic that is in David Lloyd's in Brighton. Obviously, I know there's probably listeners from all over the country that listen to this, but if you are local, because obviously we're down in East Sussex, then that's going to be opening up in June. So that is hypnotherapy, therapy, body confidence. That is if you've got a phobia. That is if you have if you want to do public speaking, anything to do with confidence, or a pattern that you want to change, that's going to be opening. And Soul Speaks is an event that is happening in October. I'm so excited. So I chat, as I said earlier on in this, I am a channel. And in last year in October, my guides were like, you need to do this event. And I was just like, what? And one of the things that I really love to do is bring female founders together, so leaders within their own right, and help them to form sisterhood. So not find other women as a threat and see other businesses as a threat. It's like this real collaboration and co-creation. And I do networking events for that, which are global and virtual if you are listening from anywhere else or you can't get down to Brighton. But the event in October is very much around female founders and a conscious way of running your business. So alchemizing, which if you're into a spiritual way of living, you will understand what that is. I don't know whether anyone's read The Alchemist. So it's actually creating the life that you desire, whether that is in business or whatever you want to do. There is going to be very much around strategy, branding, public speaking, day one. It has got a high profile celebrity speaker that is coming, which if you keep your eyes on my social media will be announced really, really soon. I can't, for legal reasons, say who it is yet online. Yeah. So she's going to be answering questions. So she really broke the mould when it came to women's empowerment. So I don't know how many years ago, she started to talk about the topics like I do, that are taboo, challenging, and she started to shine a light on it. So she went, I can't say who it is because you'll know who it is maybe. So she's really well known and she's amazing. She's really down to earth. So she's going to be talking about her business, what it's like to be in the public eye, what it's like to be a mum and run a business in the public eye. So that's day one. Day two is very much going to be about personal development and activating yourself to be able to receive more. So it's going to be on the 18th and the 19th of October, and the tickets will go on sale in June. But if you're listening and you are a female founder and you think you have something to add, there are still some slots to be a speaker.
Amazing. And can you just let everyone know where to find you on socials and your website? I will put it in the show notes as well.
Sorry, that's all right. Over you.
Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes as well.
Okay, so my favourite place to hang out is Instagram. So my handle is Laura_Beddoe_coach.mentor. The Collins isn't in there. I only got married last year, and because of my TEDx, I kept it Beddoe-Collins. But yeah, Beddoe. And my LinkedIn, everything is just Laura Beddoe-Collins. If you Google that, it will come up.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been a pleasure. Guys, make sure you're following the podcast on Instagram and on TikTok and YouTube. We are at Mamahood, the podcast. Make sure you're leaving us a review on whatever platform you're listening to us on, and make sure you check out Laura's socials. Love you, bye.